I'm Michael Gangloff. I'm an aquatic conservation biologist at Appalachian State University. And I work primarily with freshwater mollusks, crustaceans, and fish, and sometimes amphibians in streams and rivers in the southeastern U.S.
Okay.
Well, I guess as a kid, I grew up in Long Island, New York, which is, surrounded by ocean, and so freshwater always seemed more exciting to me, more different. And unfortunately, the freshwaters on Long Island are heavily impacted by urbanization and development. So there really wasn't a lot of very interesting stuff there, but I was still always really excited by any kind of freshwater critters that I could encounter. And then probably the most well known for my work with is the freshwater mussels. And
I read about that.
Historically, those were important food sources for a lot of different Native American groups, and really for Aboriginal groups across the world. Freshwater mussels are an important, or have been an important food source. Probably they were used when there were droughts or floods and crop failures. We're making other food sources hard to come by, because every account that I've ever read about the palatability of freshwater mussels suggests that it's quite low, but still in a lot of these archaeological sites you see, including like right here on the Tennessee River, mountains of discarded shells in these midden piles. It's a fairly substantial amount of biomass. So you look at, like, this guy's kind of deformed, which is why it's in my collection. But this is called a Cusafibridge, and this is a pretty small one actually. So some of these animals can be 3 or 4 pounds with the shell. So that's a fair amount of tissue and food that you could consume. There are these little Asian clams. They're they're much more circular and regularly shaped than the native freshwater mussels are. And they were actually introduced as a food source from Asia. And so they are now found in just about every stream and river in North America, at least the warmer ones. So those would actually be a good food source. They don't live quite as long as native freshwater mussels. Of course, they're an invasive species, so no one really cares about them too much. There's this part of the southeastern U.S. is actually fairly low diversity region, primarily because it's high elevation, and the crystalline bedrock of the Blue Ridge is not very erodible, which means that the streams have relatively low ion concentrations. So calcium, for example, is important to the growth of a lot of different stream organisms, insects, crayfish, and mollusks. And so limited calcium concentrations means generally fewer species of a lot of those groups. One of the first things you can assess with regards to the cleanness, if you will, of a stream is how does it smell. And so there are particular smells, including, most importantly, the smell of treated wastewater, that you should be able to detect. Though another thing that you could use, though, would be to look at the organisms that are present in a stream. And so if you had species that were conspicuously absent, up here I would choose freshwater snails, Olimia. Their presence is a really good indicator of high water quality. The fact that also whether or not the stream is permanent. They don't like metals at all. So if you have a good, healthy snail population, you have more than likely fairly clean water. And then,
well, that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to ask. But yeah, thank you for doing this with me.
Sure.
Do you mind if I continue email you throughout the course of finishing my project?
Sure.
If I have questions. All
I
right.
think it's a very interesting project idea.